A Cambodian Survivor's Odyssey by Vannath. Chapter 6. Life in Oregon, USA. My husband, son, and I, at 38 years old, arrived at our sponsor's home on May 5, 1981, in a place called Beaverton, Oregon, a suburb of Portland, near the far western edge of America. It seems so much smaller than teeming Phnom Penh. I feel, without any intent to offend, that I am in a remote village of the US. After arriving in Beaverton, people are talking about what had happened nearby a year earlier with the eruption of Mount St. Helens. My sponsor told me that volcanic ash was everywhere in Beaverton and other places, that at her workplace, Tektronix, they had to build covered bridges to connect the buildings. The roofs of houses and cars were covered by the volcano's ash. People were traumatized by their experiences, similar to the Cambodian refugees who still have vivid memories of the atrocities of the Khmer Rouge regime. People ask me how I had survived. My only answer is a miracle. There is no other answer or explanation. Picking strawberries. My sponsor tells us that newcomers to Oregon pick strawberries for a job. This will allow us to earn extra money in cash. So, early in the morning, while there is still frost, we go strawberry picking. It reminds me of picking peanuts during the Khmer Rouge time. The strawberry plants are only a little bit smaller than the peanut plants. The differences are the extreme contrast in weather, from being very hot in Cambodia to being very cold and damp in Oregon. Also, the working conditions, from being slave labor versus a free worker with pay. After 2 weeks living at my sponsor's home, she rented a one-bedroom apartment in Beaverton for us. Some Cambodian refugees living there offered to take us to the grocery store, but I am too shy and proud to ask, unless they invite me to go with them. So most of the time, we walk, sometimes in the freezing rain, carrying heavy loads of groceries. Life goes on. My son, Vannath, was enrolled in the 5th grade at William Walker Elementary School in Beaverton. While he was a student, Christian missionaries asked him to go camping for 3 days one time. When he returned home, I asked him, "Did you enjoy the camp?" He said the camp revived bad memories about the forced camping that he went through for years under the Khmer Rouge regime. In less than 2 months, with my broken English, I had found a job as secretary at the Indo-Chinese Cultural Center. It is a multi-ethnic workplace with Cambodian, Lao, Hmong, Mien, and American workers. At the same time, I registered to go to Portland Community College as a part-time student in finance and accounting. My French background allows me to challenge and skip the regular English as a second language class that all refugees coming to the USA and using public assistance are supposed to take upon arrival. Amazingly enough, before I can find the word in English, I have to think in French first and then translate it from French to English. The daily commute to work is very hard. I do not know clearly how to take the bus. One time, I wondered why the bus did not stop at the bus stop. I waved to the driver and ran to catch it, but it did not stop. I was panicking, thinking about how I would get home. Fortunately, another bus on a different route stopped, and with advice from the driver, I learned I had to transfer from bus to bus for hours before I was able to get the right one that stopped near my apartment. Later, I learned that one of my classmates from École Royale d'Administration, Singli Jum, and his wife Valin live in Sandy, a suburb on the other side of Beaverton. I call them and they come right away to visit and take us to Kmart to buy new clothes. I feel quite embarrassed. Singli later helps me to get an Oregon driver license and sells his second-hand Volkswagen to me. While I no longer have to wait for the bus, I must learn the traffic signs and rules which are new for me. The high speed on the freeways scares me. I get lost a lot of the time trying to find the right exit to get from work to school and home and back again. Sometimes, I arrive home at almost midnight. A friend of my husband, Chom Toi, comes to our apartment and asks me what I need. I tell him that I need nothing. He comes into the kitchen and opens all the kitchen cabinets. He shouts out loud to me, "It is empty. What do you mean you do not need anything?" Inside myself, I feel that what I already have is enough. Living with so little during the past 6 years, from 1975 to 1981, I had gotten used to needing less and did not feel that I needed anything more. Chom Toi gave us a small used black and white TV, a new sofa, and some kitchenwares. I feel that I am passing through the two extreme words of having nothing to eat to a stage of difficulty of choice. In the US supermarket, I stare at the myriad brand names of food and products, not knowing how to choose among them. The Khmer Rouge kills people who steal food to eat, while in the US, tons and tons of pumpkins are wasted every year just for fun on Halloween. The Khmer Rouge call themselves the Democratic Republic of Cambodia, while committing atrocities, terror, and violence in their effort to establish a utopian society with one pure class of workers and farmers. In the USA, they promote a respect for children's rights to the extent that parents might easily be arrested and jailed for mistreating or mishandling their children. Before our first Christmas in 1981 in the US, the Oregon Journal publishes a story about our family. Survival becomes luxury for Cambodian refugees. It depicts our daily life struggles to mainstream into the new society. After the article is published, a man comes and asks if Vannath wanted to be a paper boy, delivering the Oregonian newspaper from house to house. He accepts and wakes up early on weekends to work in the snow and freezing weather, the first winter of his life, delivering newspapers in Beaverton. The job includes going from house to house on a monthly basis to collect payments from subscribers. Michelle Williams, who was introduced to us by Chom Toi, buys Vannath a bicycle, which allows him to perform his job more pleasantly. He felt very proud about his job. I encourage Vannath to find a part-time weekend job at a Chinese restaurant, at Burger King, and later the night shift at an AM/PM convenience store. While working the midnight shift, he witnesses an altercation which results in one person getting stabbed in front of the store. For me, I changed jobs, working as a supervisor at the Southeast Asian Refugee Federation and at the International Refugee Center of Oregon, which is mandated to provide services to all refugees from different parts of the world, including Iran, Poland, Romania, Russia, and Ethiopia. For my volunteer activities, I am elected as Executive General Secretary of a Cambodian association called Samakom Santepiep, Peace Association of Oregon, with Nadi Tan as the founding president. We established a class for Khmer children who want to learn their native language, a Khmer classical dance group, and other social and religious activities to keep our community intact and our culture alive. Working in a post-conflict community, I place myself on an even keel and equal basis with people from different political affiliations, tendencies, and beliefs. Because Cambodia is under Vietnamese military occupation, expatriated Khmer refugees find themselves politically divided. I openly welcome people from different backgrounds to participate in our efforts to build a strong community. There are a few Cambodian refugees who isolate themselves from the community because of their traumatic experiences during the Khmer Rouge period. They say they feel ashamed of being born Khmer, who they believe are the worst humankind on earth in terms of their cruelty, savagery, and treachery. I volunteer at a non-stop pace, assisting people to complete their annual income tax forms and other tasks during weekends and holidays, in either icy rain or sunshine. I keep saying, just do it. And what motivates me to continue is my compassion toward my fellow refugees and the friendship and trust that they show me. But I pushed myself too hard without being aware of it. I experienced identity loss in terms of nationality and country of origin. All I know about myself is that I am a Buddhist. I experienced a nervous breakdown at least twice. The first time is in class during Business Communication 1. Each student presents their paper. Listening to them, I feel frustrated. Cambodia is currently at war and people are dying. Why don't they care about it? Why do they talk about nonsense? So when it is my turn, I talk about my tragic experiences living under the Khmer Rouge of death and separation. And then I burst into tears and cry out loud. The class is very quiet. Maybe they think that I am becoming crazy. The second time is during an application for a low-income family to receive government subsidy for the cost of heating in winter. Most of the clients that I serve are eligible for assistance. I also apply for it and strongly believe that I will qualify. But my application is turned down on the grounds that my income is above the low-income bracket. On top of that, on my meager salary, I have been asked to reimburse the airfares to the United States Catholic Charity Voluntary Agency that brought our family from the Philippines to the USA, and I must pay back my sister-in-law who advanced the money to pay the guide to bring us from Cambodia to Khao Idang, the UN-sponsored refugee camps in Thailand. I break down in tears because I feel that it is too much for me to handle. Nothing comes easily. In 1987, my husband and I divorced, and my son stays with me. I maintain my equilibrium by observing and accepting the situation as spoken in the Buddhist principles of impermanency and the non-self of all things, living creatures and relationships. I begin to learn Vipassana meditation by listening to cassette tapes of Buddhist monks preaching and the discourses of Satyanarayan Goenka. At the same time, I feel inspired to start a watercolor painting of Gautama the Buddha in a meditating posture under the Bodhi tree. It reminds me of my childhood with my grandmother, praying every night and morning, staring at a beautiful painting of Buddha with a halo around his face, full of compassion and serenity. The process of painting helps release stress, anxiety, and the feelings of self-pity. Buddha's life and teachings guide and lead me into the path of peace. Within 11 years, from 1981 to 1992, while living in Oregon, I have moved from one job to the next, yet all within agencies. My last job as a program specialist is with the Oregon State Refugee Program, Department of Human Resources, in Salem. On a volunteer basis, I continue to serve on the board of the Cambodian National Council in the United States, a national organization that exists for the purpose of preserving homeland culture. The Cambodian National Council was created by a group of Cambodian Americans who care about the survival of their social-cultural origins. Following all the fears and anxiety of uncertainty since 1975, I began to feel a little bit more relaxed. In 1990, with no hope of return to Cambodia, I decided to buy a house. I applied for a federal program called Single Head of Household, First Home Buyer. Again, ironically, I do not qualify because my income is a little bit over the income bracket. In 1991, I received my master's degree in public administration from Portland State University. The Public Administration Department honors me with an award for community service excellence. In May 1992, on behalf of the Cambodian National Council, Executive Director Thida Kuh and I, a member of the board, traveled to Thailand to visit Site 2, which is administered by the Khmer People National Liberation Front, and Site 8 refugee camps at the Cambodian-Thai border. Site 8 camp is under Khmer Rouge administration. We proceed to the head office and speak with the head of the designated Khmer Rouge camp. With equanimity, I ask how he perceived the integration process of people from the Khmer Rouge-controlled areas into mainstream society. Confidently, he assures us that they are no longer communists, adding, "As you may see, people have their own private businesses within the camp." When we say goodbye, he offers us lunch, and we are quite surprised by his hospitality. People in all camps along the border are busy preparing for repatriation, which is being organized by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees plan is to finish repatriation before the May 1993 election in Cambodia, so as to allow all its citizens to participate. Thida and I continue on with our visit to Phnom Penh. I am speechless when I kneel in front of my mother again. But alas, my father would not see his daughter, as he had passed away in 1990 at age 83. A medical doctor, who is also my relative, Ka Son Vannath, tells me that when he visited my father and asked him to seek medical care, my father said that Buddha died at 80, and he was already over 80. Before his death, he sent a letter to me in Oregon, written in Khmer, saying, "We wish you the right understanding. Either good or bad actions, the doers will get the results back accordingly. The right thinking, the right speech with the right words, the right job, the right livelihood, the right meditation. May you accumulate much and save those wishes. We say goodbye to you." And that was the last time that I heard from my father. In the 12 years since my escape, during my 2-week stay in Cambodia, I see that Phnom Penh seems to be on the rebound, in part due to the presence of the United Nations teams. It gives me hope, but I also feel deep division within our society, caused by long-lasting war and destruction. The country still has hundreds of thousands of landmines, thousands of amputees, and a shortage of doctors and teachers. In short, efforts in rehabilitation, including developing human capital, social values, and establishing the rule of law, are in high demand. During that short stay, I also visited the United Nations office in Phnom Penh. I was encouraged to apply to serve in the mission of the United Nations Transitional Authority in Cambodia, UNTAC in short. The UNTAC mission is the result of the 1991 Paris Peace Agreement. In the late 1980s, the Cold War drew to a close. In 1989, Vietnam decided to withdraw its military forces from Cambodia. The Paris Peace Agreement, to put an end to the Cambodian armed conflict, was signed by 18 countries: Australia, Brunei Darussalam, Canada, China, France, Japan, India, Indonesia, the Lao People's Democratic Republic, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, the United States of America, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, the Federal Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia, and by the Secretary General of the United Nations and the Supreme National Council of Cambodia, composed of 4 major political parties. It was designed to put an end to the Cambodian conflicts. From my Salem office in the US, I helped run a federal demonstration project called the Refugee Early Employment Project. The Refugee Early Employment Project represents a national state-of-the-art model which helps refugees from all over the world resettle, receive training, find work, pay taxes, and share their survivor's gift of peace, perspective, and clarity of purpose. It is a highly successful alternative welfare project for refugees. On my desk is a telegram from the United Nations offering me a job in Cambodia, an offer which I accepted. Following the telegram, an officer from the United Nations New York office calls me and says, "You have a good job in Oregon. Are you sure you want to quit?" With no hesitation, I said yes. I am now an American citizen, but I also want to contribute to the process of rehabilitation and reconciliation of my birthplace, with help from other Cambodians. My resettlement as a refugee in this land of opportunity has exceeded my dreams. I feel quite comfortable living in the States. I heard a lot about discrimination based on religion, social status, gender, etc. But for me, I never experienced that kind of feeling. I always feel proud about my origins. I feel that if somebody is better than me, it is because they are, and not because of discrimination, and vice versa. Nor do I have a complex of inferiority or superiority towards anybody. I recall when I bought the house, my American supervisor said to me, "You are a single head of household with one income. You and your son are at the university, and you bought a house. Are you crazy?" I replied half-jokingly, "Yes, I am. It is my midlife crisis. Some people buy expensive cars, some change their partners, and I bought a house." Later on, my supervisor bought a house too. When I was about to finish my master's degree program, the same supervisor lamented to me, "I am your supervisor and I do not have a master's degree." I replied, "Why don't you go back to school?" And she did. But morally and spiritually, I am still a refugee. While I deeply appreciate the hospitality of the people and the US government, my mind always goes back to Cambodia. For me, there are two sides of a coin, two completely different worlds on the same planet. I like the easygoing American way of life, dependable public services, and the military slogan of land of the free and home of the brave. However, I also appreciate the traditions and culture of my motherland, and I miss my birthplace.